So, welcome back to this third chapter for the building of the countryside image, farm image. And I have to admit that I have made some additional changes to the road between the last recording, between chapter 2 and 3. So to give you a slight overview, what I did is I have changed the transform values again. So as you can see, and as well has changed the values for the displacements, as well as have changed the displacement of these edges itself. What I also did in this area, there we can see that the road is submerging below the ground. And what I did additionally is that I have used a subdeform edit sub to move the polygons on this place a little bit more. So at this area, so I have moved the street a little up, and I also made sure that the displacement is working again. So I raised the overall look of the displacement even more. So I have changed the add value as well as the ramp for the edge displacement. So we have here 30% white, and here we have 30% in the negative. So, and the result of this is essentially this. So the road has more character, more shape, and is now following the surface a lot more. This looks a lot more realistic. The next thing that we want to do, we want to add a basic or general ground texture, so that we have a rough field appearance of the materials on all of these hills and so on. And when we probably need to change the shading a bit in the future on these hills in the background, we can do this in the next chapters. But for now, we want to have some general shading. And for that, we go up to the ground soil material. So this is a material that I have scanned myself on a field in our area, and I made a displacement texture. And what I do now is I will take this material and copy paste it from here, and we will jump back to our terrains. And what I also do here before we add the materials, I will give those elements a new naming. So I called it mid-range plane 1. We will move it more into that side. This is 2, and we call this 3. This is a lot better. And this is maybe 0, 0. That's the first one. So, and that's our foreground plane. And now I go to our material library. I will add this new material right underneath, so we don't need to delete it, and we only need to copy and paste the relative path to this material. And what we now get is hopefully a bit of shading. And what you see in the first place is that the scaling is totally off. So what we can do about that is we go back into our material, and here I have used this Pixar Hextile manifold UV distribution system, this Pixar Hextile manifold, and this essentially creates an infinite blending number of grids, and we can use this to scatter the material even more. So currently we have a scattering of 5, and I will move this value up to 250. And now we will see that we get a lot better scaling, more detail. It looks really nice so far, but what we are missing is the displacement. And for that we have to do 2 things. First of all, I will reduce the displacement to 25%. We will not see the result of this yet. We go up to our tree and we will add a render geometry settings node. And I will use the asterisk for the primitive, so we will affect all these materials. We go to the RenderMan tab, to prototype attributes, and here we will set or create the displacements, and here we also need to raise the radius for the displacement. We even could make it something like 0.5, and then we have to restart the render. And now we should get a proper and good looking displacement. And you see it's rendering really fast, and it looks much more realistic, and yeah, it looks really nice. So what we see is that the displacement is somehow leaking through this road, and this is totally fine, totally okay. So we can say this has some rocks have moved to the road. This is okay. We could even crank this value up a little more, but this would probably a lot more unrealistic. But there's another problem. Our road is too bright and our material is too dark. So it feels off. So what we do now is we go to our ground material, and here we go back to our color correct or exposure value and we'll raise the stop by 1. This will increase the coloring for our soil. This looks a lot more realistic, more grayish and not brown. And I think this looks great. And the road itself is still too bright and too flat. And so we are going to our road material. In the edit material lob, we will look for the exposure value and crank this down to 1. And now it should look much better. Maybe 1.5. And I think maybe 1.25. I think this looks great. This blends more with the surrounding environment. So next step that we want to do is we have a hill in the background which is quite dark. So but for that we have to this could be a mesh arrow, but for that we will check if there is an issue with the mesh itself. So what we can do is we could first of all deactivate with a null. This is just an empty. Maybe we could deactivate all of our forests and so on to have a better view. So I switch to this empty node, which will delete all of our trees. So, and I think this is not an arrow, this is just a shadow, and it's it looks okay. It blends on these areas quite nicely. So I think for now this is totally fine. So, okay, we switch those trees back on. And you see, it's really easy to do this. I think this could work a lot better than using the prune lob in terms of deactivating them temporarily in the viewport. So what we can do now is we could place our fence right on the left side along the road. So maybe we should do this now. So here we go. First of all, to our save. And I will save this version as 0.1. So that's our new chapter subpart. And we go to the farm fence. And here's the same procedure as everywhere. I have created draw helper. We do the same now. And we create a layout lob. And call this draw helper fence 1. Draw helper fence 1. And we need the surface, the correct surface, which is the foreground. This is our drawing plane. Then we will need to check it on our surface itself right here so that we are able to see where we have our road. So the road is somewhere here. And go to a wireframe, makes it easier to see everything. And we go to our layout asset gallery, drag and drop the cones right in here. And then I will place our farm fence. On the right side, I will do a really long one. And on the left side, I will do probably 3 or 2 intersections. So we will make sure that we have a more accurate path now. So this is really, really handy. As I pointed out much earlier, in Houdini 19.5, there is a new line tool, and this line tool is probably doing the same, even when I have not checked out this by myself for the tutorial. So here we have to set down our I hope this will work. So they are really small now, and I think they should be enough for now. So that's our first line. And we will draw a second line. Oh, we will try the first line first. And of course, we will copy paste this name. And we will make sure that we are in mouse up mode now. I will stop the calculation process since it's a very long one. I will make sure that we are not using any baked versions of it, so no. Maybe we should just use this one from here, so we will not bake it out. I escaped the value once again, so that we have everything on the right spot. I will drag a drop and you use the rub and call this chapter 3. farm fence 01, save it to disk. This could take some seconds, and it will probably not even be the right one. So here we have it, and you see we have not connected the new path currently. So we will set this to manual mode temporarily, go into our farm fence, to our farm fence control, and here we will copy in what we have pasted, draw helper fence 1. And now we switch back to mouse up, and we'll look at the result, and I see we still have not correctly connected our road to what we try to output. So this is following much more nicer. So we will connect this here and bake that out. So it's baked. We will use a new reference and call this farm fence 1, of course. Here we have our chapter 3 file, farm fence.usd. Reload, and we don't connect this. So it has worked. So we will look into our scene. We don't need to connect this currently. We go back to our camera and we will check the result. Oh, the path and the road is too much on the left. This is not looking nice. So what we will do, we go into our farm fence here and we will change those values quite a bit. So we go to our farm fence sub. Wow, sometimes camera is not that nice. So here we have our imported path. Everything was working nicely. The reprojection and so on. Okay, so what we do before we reproject our new path to the ground, we will move our created points, those points, more to the left, or maybe we should do this here. Yeah, maybe we do this here. So this is our line. And here we will probably, it has to recalculate everything. Since we are in Solaris, it's a very dense asset with recalculation of UVs and so on. So I will switch to build. This makes it much faster. We go to our line again. And here we will uncheck this for now, so we will not rebake it. We only want to move our points a little more to the side. So with the button M, the short key M, we can change how the gizmo should work. So we want to work in the world coordinates, so move it more to the left, and this one as well. So we go back, reconnect this, let it calculate. Here we have it. We switch back and try to look through our camera. Turn that off, look through our camera. This looks much better, but not nice currently, also because we have not baked it, so we need to rebake this. So we go back here, save this to disk. Hopefully it got saved. And then we reload it, and now it looks really nice. So of course we need to check if we have some penetrations into our road, and yes, we have them. So this is probably not that nice, but the rest is quite okay. So I will correct this issue right here, and without trying to let you wait too much, I will add more fences now. I will correct this area, and I will speed up the process for you, so it's basically the same as usual. I will repeat this process here and will rebake multiple versions as same procedure like with our windmills. And so I have multiple different drawings and multiple different files that I will reference into our rendering scene. So I will speed this up and I will start with this placement now. So see you in a couple of minutes, probably seconds for you. So when I started to edit the correct path or the little area that I wanted to edit, I had a crash, and the crash was very severe, so I was not able to reload the crashed file itself. I was forced to use an older version, so 3.1, and in the end it turned out to be much better, since in the meantime, when I was waiting for loading of the file, I was asking myself why I'm blocking the view to the road, so from the point of camera, and it turned out that this was not looking nice. So I tried that out even in the rendered version, and it really was not looking that great. And so I came up to the conclusion that I only should draw the fence on the left side. Yeah, I used the nudge tool, as you can see in the layout, to move those points from right to left to change the placement. And this is a very fast workflow, but this has some disadvantages. Like you see, you have a wrong looking fence now, and I will describe what you have to do to resolve this in a couple of seconds when we are in real time again. So here I come back. I have played a lot with those values, and there's something that I want to show you. I have used the nudge tool in the layout and tried to move those points. And by doing those moving, the point number has changed totally. So we have totally different numbering now, and this could make a lot of problems by trying to create the fence object. So what you have to make sure is that you activate the display point numbers option in the viewport, and then you check those values. And what we see right here is that this point has no place here. This should not be there. What we could do, we could resort our numbering from in the Z direction. So that's what I will do now. So yeah, of course, it will recalculate the entire process again. I should probably deactivate the UV baking. This takes quite a while, as you can see. So what we will do is, this layout thing is taking too much time. So to make sure we are able to work, I will deactivate those nodes underneath. And yeah, this should make things much faster. So, and we are going back to our sort, and we are using the Z-axis to resort all those points, and in the reverse point direction. So that's 0 and that's 20. Of course, when your line would be in from the right to the left, you probably have to use the x-axis. So those are our new points. And here we can see our new fence. Of course, we have to rebake it just for the viewport, just for testing. Lighting was off. I placed the fence now on the left side of the road. This looks way better. So we have some more space for the viewer to move into the image. So I kind of like that more. So we will not have a fence in the front of the camera. So of course we currently have deactivated the UV making, which is the most expensive performance wise. So we switch back to manual mode, go here, reactivate all those nodes. We don't need the quick shade. And that should be it. So we'll jump back. Go to our ROP, turn on mouse active. It will now recalculate probably everything. So we save to disk. Now it will rebake. So when you work in LOPs, make sure you use those update toggle button on the right bottom side as much as you can. So when you know there is a node which takes quite a while to bake and you only need to change some values, turn to manual mode. So it will save you a lot of time and as well as crashing. So reload. And we now should have some UVs. I will save this file. It's saved. And I don't need this transform anymore. And we will do a test run. And so here we have our fence. And it is probably the white one. We will go back to our Solaris tab. Of course, here we have to turn on rendering again. But before we save again, I will change the shader itself. So when you remember in my asset presentation, I created some attributes. And here I will use the Worn Paint Blender. I will right click this value in the material, edit attribute, and create a new primitive node. It will generate it at the end, and I will move it up to here and link it right there. Okay, we need our camera back. So, and here I will activate the float value. So we have the white one currently. And I will switch to the worn painted version. So I think this looks much, much better. The next thing that we like to do is we like to have the machine in our image, so we can pre-place our machine. So we have the machine currently not in this file. The question is if we want to load the entire thing or if we want to bake our machine to USD and pre-place it. And I will do it in the external file. So I will rename it to farm fence first of all, our container box farm fence 1. That's our terrain road building. So, and here we will place our land machine, land robot. And for that I will go back to Houdini GL. I will save this and I will move to our machine. And here we have it, asset robot sprayer. I will open it. So we are back, file has loaded. This is our machine. And I think the position and how everything looks is really nice. So what we could do, we could port this to our shot, which would be probably the best one because here we are having our controls and so on. But we are looking at the situation that we have some lights probably activated. So since we are in a dark, in a more evening scene or morning scene, so we will tint this lights into half so that our lights are not fully activated. And everything is in operation mode. And I will save this to robot sprayer. We'll bake this asset out to disk. I will do this now. And now I have baked it. I will go back to our shot. We will save this. You can save it for you, but I will not do that right now, just in case something is happening. So here we are back in our scene, and here we use the reference once again, and I will call it robot sprayer, and I will go to our USD files. So in that case we have directly baked it to our USD, and here I will look for our robot sprayer, and I will load the robot sprayer USD. And here we have it with our volume and with our shaders and so on. And I will put a transform to it. Of course, drag and drop the robot sprayer right in here. Link it to our mainstream. Oh, we should do another merge. This is looking much better. We not need this one. And we could also make it more readable. So this is our fence. This is our robot sprayer. And now we will place it where we have thought about. So we will move it in the front. Maybe more into the background, a little more. So we will double check. And we see we were not that far away from the original model. So we can place this somewhere here. We have to make sure that we are on the ground, but keep in mind we have some displacement, so we probably will move our robot a little higher, somewhere here, and we will deactivate our machine dummy somewhere here. So we will copy and paste this switch. And we will just turn it off. So go back to our camera. And I will try to save it as a new file. So this is 3.2. And what you have seen is that this is really great when you're collaborating with multiple artists on one shot or one project. One artist can, create the 3D model for the machine. One can rig it, one can texture it, and one can start with the scene layout. And when the model is finished, you just link it in. You don't need to use the same file and risk overwriting or corrupting the file whatsoever. So this is really great. And I will start the rendering. And it starts, and it is rendering our machine with our volumes and so on. This is so nice. This is probably one of the most important developments in recent 20 years or so, in my personal opinion. And you see, it's so easy. Of course, you have to live with stability issues. It's a new development, and yeah, we know it from the past. New developments sometimes have some issues, that will be resolved in the future without any doubt. So this looks great. I will save this as our new starting base for chapter 4. So we will start on this chapter, and see you in the next chapter. See you, bye.